Hi, guys. Welcome to the Pandemic Pinup Happy Hour. I hope everyone had a very lovely Thanksgiving and was, if not able to spend it with their families, at least able to share with them virtually, as is the preferred form of social gathering in today's times. But today I'm really excited. We're going to kick off a series that I like to do every season for the holidays, which is the 12 cocktails of Christmas. And they don't really have to be Christmas, they can be any other holiday that you celebrate towards the end of the year. They're not Christmas specific. It's just, I really like that song, The 12 Days of Christmas, and how it just keeps building and building. So I thought 12 was a good round number. And we're going to do 3 cocktails every week for the next 4 weeks, finishing right before Christmas so that y'all will have stuff to make for the holidays, whether it's with your friends or with family. So let's see. We have Noobs. Hi, Noobs. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Good, good. Happy late Thanksgiving.
Thank you very much. Can't wait to hear about yours.
Yeah, yeah. We will, as we always do, get together later and chit chat. Yeah. I am so excited about the cocktails today. It's just one of those things. Like I love the holidays. I don't care what holiday it is. I love celebrating. So it's always. I find that if there are good things going on in life, especially with the way things are in the world right now, why not take a moment to celebrate all the good stuff? Like I'm that person that I'll celebrate like monthly anniversaries with people just because like if there's someone I like in my life, friend or otherwise, why not celebrate that? So today we're going to be doing that by raising some drinks. Super excited. So what we're going to do is I'm going to tell you a little bit about the drinks and then we'll get into making them. Let me make sure my video is pinned and nice and large. So we're going to be making 3 cocktails each week, as I mentioned before. Today we're going to be making the Posada, the cold snap, and the Snowball Effect. And all 3 of these are very different. So the Posada is going to be kind of an interesting, refreshing cocktail that can pair with a lot of different meals. The Snowball Effect will be great for you to have stuff in your freezer, good to go, or like make little party favors if you are having a small gathering. And then the cold snap, I don't know about where y'all are, and I know Texas doesn't get very cold comparatively to a lot of other places at this time of the year, but it's cold enough for me. Today it's, I think, 42 degrees, and tomorrow it's supposed to have first frost and be 27 degrees. So I love me some hot cocktails. And we're going to make one of those, which is cold snap. We did have a whole series of hot cocktails when we did the sweater weather class, but why stop there? We can always do more. So we're going to go ahead and start with the Posada. Now the Posada, I named it this because I wanted to do a tequila drink and then do something nice and refreshing and then also bring some Christmas culture and trivia to the class as I like to do. I like to bring all kinds of information, not just recipes. So the Posada is something that is celebrated in Latin American countries, primarily in areas of like Central America, Northern South America, and Mexico. You'll see a lot of the Hispanic communities in the United States celebrating it. Usually it takes place between like December 16th, I think, all the way up till Christmas Eve. And it's just a bunch of small celebrations that commemorate the journey that Mary and Joseph had to get to the inn where Jesus was famously born. So a lot of the celebrations involve candles and singing and songs and drinking. So we're going to make something called the posada. Now, traditionally, I wanted to serve this in a glass that I had. It was like a very small highball glass, which was actually a candle holder. I took one of the votive, or no, they're not called votive, one of the candles that they use, like a prayer candle, that are very, very common in Mexican culture. Melted the whole candle, used it, and then cleaned out that vessel so that I could use it as a glass because, like I said, there's a lot of candles in the Posada celebrations. However, I was getting ready for my Christmas decor today, and I forgot I had this very Christmassy cocktail glass, and I figured, seeing as it was our first Christmas themed or holiday themed class, I would use that instead of the candle because it says it's beginning to look a lot like cocktails. So you can serve this any way you want, really. It doesn't matter. So what we're gonna do for the posada, very simple. It's a build in the glass cocktail. Today's cocktails are so easy, guys. So we are going to have our cocktail glass ready. You can do this in a rocks glass, a highball, a champagne flute. It is going to have ice, so probably lack of stemware is probably not the best way to go, but anything that has like a nice base to it will be good. Or you could just use candle holders like I had intended to. We're going to take a 3/4 ounce of creme de cassis, which is like a black currant liqueur. There's a lot of different brands out there. They're all fairly good. We're gonna pour that 3/4 ounce directly into the glass. This is Mathilde. They make a lot of fruit liqueurs, and I am slowly becoming a huge fan. Well, I say slowly, but I've been working with these liqueurs pretty much throughout the pandemic, and I just like every single one I've gotten. The raspberry is amazing. The cassis is fantastic. Their orange liqueur XO is fantastic as well. Great brand. I love it. Not sponsored by it. I just like y'all to have good things and good info. Plus, they also sell not full-size bottles, which I'm very grateful for because I don't just drink creme de cassis by the gallon. So if I buy a full-size bottle, it's probably going to sit there a lot longer. So creme de cassis, and we're going to put that right back. And then the other ingredients we're going to be using are tequila, lime juice, Angostura bitters, and soda. Now let's go over some mods before I actually build you the cocktail. Don't have creme de cassis. I've made this with sloe gin. I've also made it with raspberry liqueur. Both fantastic variations. Anything fruity that you like is good. And then lime juice, I definitely recommend sticking with that citrus. I'm going to be using an aged tequila, a reposado, but if you prefer silver, it's just as beautiful in this cocktail. You'll just get more of the cassis notes instead of both cassis and tequila. So what we're going to do is with our creme de cassis in our glass, I am going to fill my glass with ice. No shaking, guys, no shaking. We don't do a whole lot of built-in glass cocktails on this class. I don't know why that is. Probably just because I like to shake things. But we have our ice in there. And now I'm going to put in 1.5 ounces of tequila. And you could argue that this cocktail could be shaken. Yes, it has citrus juice. It's a good idea to shake cocktails that have citrus juice. It helps them aerate. The flavors become bright. I am doing this in the glass so it'll layer a little bit and have more of an ombre effect upon presentation. You could shake the tequila and the lime juice and then add that if you really want to aerate the juice. But in the grander scheme of things, I tried it both ways and wasn't so big of a difference that I felt the need to shake it. But y'all do you. And then we're going to use 1/2 ounce of fresh lime juice. And I will say, I know I say a lot, fresh is best, but creme de cassis is such a beautiful flavor. Black currants are both bright and dark at the same time. They have that like really nice fruitiness that you get off of like raspberries and fresh strawberries, with that depth and richness that you can find in like blackberries and cherries. So if you're gonna have a liqueur or a flavor that is so bold and beautiful, please use fresh if at all possible. It's just the aftertaste that sometimes comes with those pre-bought citruses is gonna just kind of ruin the whole shebang. So we have our cassis, our tequila, and our lime. We're gonna do 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. I did try this with a few other ones, such as Peychaud's or like chocolate bitters, stuff like that. The only combination I really liked outside of the Ango was orange bitters, and I preferred the orange with silver tequila, but the Ango with the aged tequila. So just a few pointers. So 2 dashes right in there. And then I'm just going to top it off with some soda. And you can use sparkling water, a flavored soda if you want to. You can also use champagne if you need like a little extra kick. And then I'm going to garnish this with a Luxardo cherry, mainly because it's very similar in color to currants, but I couldn't find currants. So we're just using a cherry and pretending it's a currant. I'm going to bring that over so you guys can see this really festive glass. Yeah, like the glass says, it's beginning to look a lot like cocktails. It's a very pretty, pretty cocktail. So cheers, guys, and happy kickoff to our holiday season. I'm so excited. Now, little tip, if you are serving these and you do the ombre effect, these do really well with a cocktail stirrer. Can I use Manischewitz instead of cassis? Yes, absolutely. In a pinch, a lot of things can swap out for the creme de cassis. That's a great question. There's a lot of sweet wines on the market. Manischewitz is a Jewish wine, and they actually have a bunch of flavors. They have cherry, blackberry, and then your regular Concord grape. They're really nice. They're sweet. They have a lot of flavor. And creme de cassis is a flavorful sweet liqueur. It will alter the alcoholic content of your beverage, but the flavor will be absolutely delicious. So make it with Manischewitz, because that stuff's $4 a bottle. That's a great idea. I love that. And we'll probably be making a bunch of Manischewitz posadas. It's a bunch of languages in one mouthful next weekend. But if you are going to serve these to people, I recommend, if they haven't had the cocktail before, serve it with some kind of cocktail stirrer or even a straw, preferably the ones that aren't harming all of our wildlife. But just because off the top, you're going to get a lot of tequila and soda. So if you have something to stir it around with, I do with my little cherry garnish, then you'll be able to incorporate the cocktail. Because even if you shake the tequila with the lime juice, pour it on top, and then top it with soda, you're still going to end up with that cassis on the bottom. And that color is really pretty for presentation, but no one wants to sip a cocktail and then just have a syrupy sweetness at the bottom. You really want all those flavors to come through the whole time you're drinking. But yeah, guys, that is La Posada. All right, moving forward, super excited about this cocktail. I sometimes get this idea in my head that I'm going to do something, and then I will experiment with it tirelessly and fail a lot. This was one of those cocktails. And I was so determined to find a way to make this work and to present it in the way that I wanted that it almost became more stressful than it needed to be. So I am very happy to have done all the work so that y'all can do this without all of the stress. The concept was a dessert cocktail. And then on top of that, the flavors I really wanted to go for was kind of like an Andes mint, right? That mint chocolate. But there's all kinds of mint chocolate. You have like mint chocolate ice cream, which is its own category of mint chocolate. Then you have like Andes mint chocolates or chocolate mints that end up on your pillow, and they're very characteristic. So I kind of got it in my head that I was going to do a version of a grasshopper, which is a creamy, minty cocktail that is sometimes very green, and it can look very festive. So I wanted to switch it up, not make it green, bring in some other flavors, make it a little more interesting. The grasshopper, while tasty, can just be kind of one note. It's kind of the difference of eating candy as a kid and just like, ooh, sugar. And then as an adult, you're like, ooh, you look for certain flavors. You want things to actually taste good, not just sweet. So that's what I did. I decided to come up with a minty, chocolatey dessert cocktail that looked pretty, but also tasted really nice and complex and not just mint and chocolate. So I'm super excited about this cocktail, guys. This one will require a shaker. The wonderful thing about this, it batches up to perfection. I will say if you're going to make it in more than 10 portions at a time, do 10 and then do another 10, just because it does have saline drops in it. So that way it's easier to keep count of your saline solution amount so you don't overdo it. Because if you oversalt this cocktail, it's not going to be great. So what you want to do is we're going to start with creme de cacao, which is a chocolate liqueur. Now, I always get the clear. You do have one that is darker, like kind of like a brown color, kind of looks like watered down coffee. You can use either one. I like it clear just because that allows me to control the color of my cocktail more. Very much like creme de menthe. Creme de menthe you can get in bright green or you can get clear. Now, if you know you're only using it for a specific color, go with the colored version if that's what you're looking for. If you're doing a coffee cocktail and you just want to amp up those like browns and that rich color, then go for that. But if you don't know what is going in, I was determined to have this cocktail be as stark white as possible. So I wanted to make sure that I got the clear. So I'm using a 3/4 ounce of creme de cacao. And this is a small little cocktail. And this cocktail is going to be maybe like a 3-ounce cocktail at the end of all of this. That being said, it's boozy. It's not crazy high in alcohol content. Hi, Casey. But it is a dessert cocktail. So that sweetness is there. And you don't want to make sweet cocktails too large just because they can get a little cloying and overly sweet. So you want to give people the opportunity to drink a small one and then come back for more if they want it, much like a pie. I love pie. I would probably eat a whole pie, but it'd be wise to start with a slice. So 3/4 ounce of creme de cacao. And then for our mintiness, but to also add in some depth, we're going to be using liquore strega, which just means witch liquor. It's an Italian liqueur. It is golden in color. Well, actually kind of like hay. It's not as gold as the Galliano that we've used in the past, but it's got a nice like anisette kind of mint flavor to it. And then it's got a very subtle herbal undertone that is really nice without being so intensely herbal like Galliano. Now, you could totally switch this for a creme de menthe. You could switch it for a Galliano. You could swap it out entirely and use something like Fernet Branca or a Jaeger if you just want to go like herbal and chocolate. You could swap it out and just do orange liqueur and chocolate. But whatever color you choose, whatever alcohol you choose, that color is going to affect this cocktail. This being a really like light gold is not that big of a deal. So we have a 1/2 ounce of our Strega liqueur. And this is something I actually have been meaning to try forever, but it usually has a higher price point. Now that I was able to find it on sale, I got it for like $18 at my liquor store because nobody was buying it. Nobody knows what to do with it. I'm quite fond of it. I would buy it again. I would pay full price for it. So that's my review. So a 1/2 ounce of that. And then we're going to add Genever, not gin, Genever. There's lots of different brands. Very few of them are the same. Genever is a very interesting category with so much diversity. So I will say that I think in this case, brand is important. I tried this with 3 or 4 Genevers that I have here at the house, and it changed the cocktail so drastically that I would say you could swap this. You could do, any kind of chocolate liqueur that you like, but the Genever is definitely going to be a big, big factor. Now, the Genever I'm picking has a lot to do with the fact that it pairs really nicely with the Strega. So if you do change the Strega, maybe this is not the Genever for you. But I'm going to use a 1/4 ounce of Bols Genever. All right, put that in there. 1/4 ounce of that. And then we're going to add in a couple drops of things. We're going to add in 1 drop of saline solution. And then I'm going to use vanilla extract. Now, the reason I'm using vanilla extract, you can omit this if you would like, but our brains associate vanilla with the flavor of sweet. So a really cool little thing you can do sometimes is to use vanilla in things that you want to add less sugar to because your brain will think it's sweeter than it is. So I did try this with actually larger quantities of the liqueurs just to have more of an alcohol content, but they got so overly sweet that it was almost impossible to drink. So I dialed it back, and then it wasn't quite sweet enough, and I didn't want to add in more sugar or simple syrup and change the texture of the cocktail. So I went with vanilla extract. That was my little trick. So I'm going to be putting in 2 drops of vanilla extract, and they also sell vanilla extract in clear color format. So you could use that if you have it. I just happened to have regular vanilla extract. Didn't see the need to buy a whole clear bottle for just 2 drops. But if you're batching these, it might be a good investment. So let's go over it one more time. I have a 3/4 ounce of creme de cacao, a 1/2 ounce of my Strega liqueur. I have a 1/4 ounce of my Bols Genever, 1 drop of saline, 2 drops of vanilla extract. But we're making this a creamy cocktail, and I wanted it to be white and beautiful because it's called the Snowball Effect. So we are using heavy cream. I tried this with almond milk. It was good. The texture was a little thinner, but also the color was just not as stark white. It looked more like a little bit kind of like a melted snow that's on a pavement. Like it just wasn't as pretty. And then, yeah, it's not high ABV, but it's a dessert cocktail. So for me, it's one of those things where you've probably been drinking all day at this point, or maybe you start with dessert on like your mornings. I do dessert for breakfast a lot during the holidays because there's like leftover pie. So it's a lower ABV cocktail, so you can either start your day off or end your day and then figure out where you want to go. Because I don't know, personally for me, if I've been drinking all day and I've had a lot of whiskey, which is my preference, or heavier alcohol content cocktails, and then the dessert cocktail has a ton of alcohol, that extra alcohol and sugar will send me over the edge, and then my night is shot. So I'd rather have more of these at a lower ABV than one and ruin my night. So I went lower ABV, but primarily that had to do a lot with the flavor. I did try to swap it out where Geneva was the base because it's got a higher alcohol content, but it just didn't taste as good. So we were all about flavor, less importantly about the alcohol content. So if you've done any of these classes with me, you know I have this weirdo CD thing that I cannot add cream directly to a cocktail. I have to like ice my shaker first because internally I'm freaking out that it'll curdle, even though I know it won't. So I'm going to add ice to my shaker, and then we're going to add the cream. So ice in my shaker. I'm going to add a whole ounce of heavy cream. I did try this with half and half, and that was still okay. Anything lower than half and half, the texture started to get a little off. Because the creaminess of your dairy product is nice, but then also those liqueurs, because they have sugar, have a thicker quality in their mouthfeel than, say, just like whiskey. So anything you start to alter is going to change the texture of this as well. So 1 ounce of cream directly in the shaker. Then we're going to shake for about 10, maybe 15 seconds. All right, and now for the presentation, because literally that's the whole reason I made this cocktail. Not really. I wanted a dessert tasty cocktail, but I also wanted it to be super cute. So I did this. Got these little ornaments at the dollar store. They're 2 for $1. Now they're plastic, not glass. I have seen ornament glassware for the holidays every year for probably the last 4 years. I'm like, oh, they're so cute. They have these cute little screw tops, and they're like shots, right? You can just fill them up, put them in a bucket of ice, and everybody has these like party shots. They're really expensive because they're made out of glass and they have these screw tops. So I didn't want to buy those because they were like, I don't know, $25 for a set of like 6 or something. These were, like I said, 2 for $1. I took a lighter from my stove, like a grill lighter, a long lighter, and just heated the bottom ever so slightly so it would be mushable, and then just pressed it onto my countertop so that it'll sit on its own and not roll around. Now, the only difference between these really and the other type of glassware is that these don't really have lids that screw on. They just have these little things that pop off because they're supposed to be hung as an ornament, not used as a cocktail glass. But because they stay flat, I'm not worried about them tipping over. So I'm going to take this little bowl I have here to help me hold it just in case. Put a funnel in this cute little ornament. Then I'm going to strain my cocktail into this. Now, I got these at Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree has a couple different sizes and shapes. I originally was going to make this like a hefty cocktail and put it in the big ornament that they have where it's 1 for $1. It was too much. It doesn't stay cold long enough. There's no way to ice it. So the little ones were perfect. They also have some that are shaped kind of like Christmas lights, a little elongated. Those would also probably work. The capacity of these little balls is right at like 3.5 ounces. So the reason I chose these also is because if you wanted to, if you had a tray, you could set these in there and then freeze them. And then they'll become slushy when someone wants to drink them. But check that out, guys. Look how cute that is. That is the Snowball Effect. So pretty. Nice.
Oh my God.
It's adorable. And
it's adorable.
Little shot. It's a little shot. I think these
That
are
is
like,
absolutely amazing.
I love these. I'm so in love because I kept seeing all these party buckets, right? And everybody will make like some kind of cocktail with cranberry and like a Cosmo, and then they'll do something that's like dyed green, and then they'll just put all these like green and red balls. Super cute. If you wanted to, you could totally add a little bit of food coloring, and then these would be different colors, right? But they could all be the same cocktail. But yes, I thought this was fantastic. Not as secure as the ones you can buy with screw tops. I think they also sell plastic versions with screw tops, but again, none of them are inexpensive. And this was just such an easy little do-it-yourself project. So I am in love. Can you still hang them on the tree? I do not believe they would work with the weight of the cocktail in them. Because like I can't pick this up by just doing this. But I did remove the pin that like holds it like this. So if you left that in, quite possibly. I removed it because my original idea was to like poke a hole in this, put a straw in it. I went like really over the top. And then I wasn't able to poke a hole in this without it becoming like that weirdly sharp aluminum piece that was kind of dangerous. So if you left that little piece in there that you're able to actually hang something from because it's got those arms, it might actually be hangable. Or there might be a way to like put probably like a silicone border around the edge so that it has a little bit of a tighter seal, and then it would be able to. But these, I mean, they're from the dollar store, guys. 50 cents a Dollar Tree. I wish they could be hangable. There are some you can buy on Amazon that are hangable plastic ones that you can put up there, but they only hold 2 ounces. So I didn't want to buy those because my cocktail is give or take 3 and a smidge, depending on how hard you shake it. So there's lots of ways to do it. If you want help figuring out how to hang these on your tree, we can have a few of these and discuss it. Yeah, that is the snowball effect. And then for my last one, I really want to get into some nitty-gritty details about modifying cocktails and really just finding stuff that you like. Because y'all come here and you hear me talk nonsense about cocktails that I create. And in reality, yes, I do have what one could call training and experience in trying to concoct and create cocktails that would be agreeable to a bigger public. So there's a high likelihood that most of the people that try my cocktails would like them. But sometimes people have different palates. How can we adjust, especially if your palate, viewers out there at home, don't match up with the majority of the palates that would like my cocktails? So I wanted to make a hot buttered rum. And hot buttered rum, there's 2 schools of thought that I could really kind of divide it into. There's people that do butter, right? It's hot buttered rum. And they do like composed butters with herbs or spices and sugar, and then you mix it into the butter to make a composed butter. You take the butter, leave it at room temp, smash all these things into it, and then shape it back into a log or a square, put it back in your fridge, and then you can slice off pieces of it and put it on top of your cocktail. Also very popular for steaks. You make an herb garlic butter like that, let it melt on a hot steak. So that's one way to make a hot buttered rum. The other way is to make a batter. And now I had always done the composed butter. I thought it was good. I did like it. It is an interesting texture because you get the like thickness. There's a little bit of an oiliness on the top of the cocktail. I find it very pleasant. Some people do not. I do a butter fat wash. Yeah, you can totally fat wash your things with butter. That also would allow you to not have like what we call the oil slick on top of your cocktail, right? If you just butter fat washed your spirit and then turned it into a hot like toddy, if you will, because a hot buttered rum is tea or water, rum, and butter. And then you could do it that way. I wanted to go with the batter route, see what it was all about. I am absolutely hooked. And then I love hot toddies. So I took the hot buttered rum concept, but with batter, and then the hot toddy idea and mashed them together. So we have rum, we have hot tea instead of water, and I made a batter. So there was a recipe for this batter in the flyer. My jar's a little low because I've been having quite a few of these. They're quite tasty. So for the batter, it was 1 cup of melted vanilla ice cream. It was 1 stick of room temperature butter, and then half a cup of white sugar and half a cup of brown sugar. You could pick any other ice cream that you like. That's one way to modify this. You could do different types of sugar. Another way to modify this. The water, I decided to make tea, and I tested this with chai, with Thai tea, which has this beautiful orange color, and then these really pretty vanilla notes. I tried it with the green tea. You could try it with literally any tea you like and see what happens. And then when it comes to rum, there are so many kinds of rum. I tried this with a pecan-infused rum I have. I tried it with a silver rum, an agricole rum, a pineapple rum. And it's almost like there are so many endless combinations, just even with rum. And if you wanted to, then you get into whiskey, hot buttered gin, do all kinds of crazy stuff. But just with the hot buttered rum, you could literally mix and match ice creams, teas, and rums and just have so many different combinations. So today's combination, well, first I'll tell you my favorite one so far. My favorite combination so far was the plantation pineapple rum with Thai tea and the vanilla ice cream hot buttered rum batter. Today, I was playing around, found a new combination I really like. So I have a pomegranate chai black tea, still using the vanilla hot buttered rum batter because that's what I already had made. And then their OFTD, the overproof rum that they have. So really nice, a little bit of a stronger kick, but it amps up all those flavors too of the spices that I put into here and the spices that are in the tea. So how do we make this hot buttered rum, Chandler? Stop talking and make us a drink. So this cocktail is going to end up being about 7 ounces. So the reason that's good to know is because not all coffee mugs are the same, and you definitely want something that is heat proof. You don't want to put this in a coupe or a champagne glass. You could use an Irish coffee mug. You could just use a coffee cup. I found this really cute one, I think at like Target for $2. And it happens to be exactly 7.5 ounces. So we're going to measure 1 ounce and 3/4 of the rum. That would be my usual measurement. But because I'm doing the OFTD, which is overproof, I'm going to use 1.5 ounces. But if you're using a regular percentage alcohol rum, start with 1 ounce and 3/4. And you're just going to pour that directly into your cup. Put that in there. And then you're going to put a tablespoon of your batter. Interestingly enough, when you mix this all together, I know it looks slushy and you might be thinking because it's been sitting here for a while, but it stays soft. It stays really, really scoopable, which was nice because then it makes it to where you could just make a lot of these and not have to worry about it thawing if you wanted to make several at a time for some guests or maybe your parents come over. So it does look weird. I always like showing y'all what it looks like so you don't think you're doing it wrong at home, but it looks kind of chunky, and that's just because the butter solids do have trouble really mixing in. So the best way to make it is to mix that butter into the sugar first and then add in your ice cream. But even so, if you have any separation, it's fine because the butter is going to melt into our cocktail. So I'm putting a tablespoon of that into my rum right there in my glass. And then I have my tea brewed here. You could do this beforehand and put it in an Yeti cup like I did, or you could just have it like ready on the stove, good to go in a little kettle. And because I already know the capacity of my glass, I can pretty much just pour this in there. But if you don't know, then you would want to use 5 ounces. So because my glass holds exactly what I need, I pretty much top it up almost to the brim. And then you just wait a minute. I like to give it a tiny stir just to make sure that that buttered rum is getting buttered. That's the idea, guys. And let's see, I made a tiny bit of a mess. So then, oh my gosh, it smells so good. I'm getting all of the spice from the chai tea, but there's a light fruitiness because of the pomegranate, and all of that is just melding so beautifully with the aroma of this rum, which has all those really nice, dark, deep, rich aromas. And then I decided to garnish this with a dehydrated blood orange slice, mainly because of the color, but also as it sat low, and I served this earlier for myself, the aroma of that citrus as it slowly, because I just let the bottom of it kind of get in there, it starts to get some of that heat, so you get some citrus notes, but they're subtle instead of having it just immediately be orange to the face. But I like to call this the cold snap, because that's exactly what we're having here in Texas is a cold snap. It got pretty cold, and now all I want are hot cocktails. But that, guys, is the cold snap. And that wraps up our class today. So just a reminder, today we did 3 cocktails. Next week we'll do 3. We'll do this for 4 weeks until we have all 12 cocktails of Christmas. I'm super excited. Some of them are cultural. Some of them are just things off the top of my head. Some of them are riffs on very classic variations. But feel free to stop by. The recipes will be posted on Instagram per usual. I will try to be really good about getting these videos up on the YouTube channel ASAP. And if you have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out. But until next Sunday, go along your ho, 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 merry way. And I will see y'all for part 2 of the 12 cocktails of Christmas. See ya.